Hey Gothamites, what is up? Welcome to this brand new video on Gotham Season 5. Now this video is really full of information. Now I'm going to be going over leaks first, but I will leave a timestamp in the pinned comment at the top of this video in case you do not want to know any of these leaks, because I will be going over some other information, for example, what the executive producer / showrunner John Stevens had to say in that TV Guide magazine, amongst a couple of other things. But honestly, some of these leaks that I'm about to say are freaking huge. There's not as many of them as the Arrow and Flash leaks, which I've covered in my past 2 videos, but seriously, if these are true, then some of you are going to be insanely happy. But anyway, before watching this video, if you haven't seen my latest Gotham video on Harley Quinn potentially coming into Gotham as Jeremiah's love interest, be sure to check that one out and then come back to this one. But other than that, if you're brand new to this channel, why not subscribe for more Gotham content like this, because you do not want to miss out on what is to come. So everybody, as you're fully aware, and I'm certainly goddamn aware because the amount of content that I want to get out, San Diego Comic-Con is going on right now, and as you know, the DC TV shows have their own little bags. Gotham have got their own one, so I guess you could kind of look at this as the first little glimpse of Gotham Season 5 artwork, or like a concept of Season 5. It looks pretty cool. Jim standing there in the city of Gotham that is in complete ruins after the events of No Man's Land. But also some of the Gotham cast have had their first table read, which you can see in this photo, which is pretty awesome. And notice one particular character, Scarecrow. So it looks like, I mean, I kind of thought Scarecrow would be coming back anyway. Pretty cool tease, but there is more of this to come. But let's get into these leaks. So just to give a little bit of a background on these leaks, we've had some Arrow leaks, we've had some freaking some of the DC Universe leaks, we've had some Supergirl leaks, we've had some Flash leaks, and some of them all sound pretty interesting, and some of them do sound pretty legitimate. But then, when asked if there was any Gotham leaks, he had a couple of things to say, some of which really surprised me. Now, obviously, guys, take this with a grain of salt, because we don't know if this is true, but some of these aren't necessarily surprising, and if anything, I kind of hope some of them do come into play during this, the duration of Season 5. They're not like mega insane spoilers, because as I said, the grain of salt thing, it is hard to know whether these are legitimate, but with Gotham having its last season, you never know. You never know if they will actually be able to do these things that this guy has leaked. So when asked about any Gotham leaks, this is what he had to say. No, other than they're shipping out the Batman Begins suit and repainting it as a cost-saving measure. Apparently the budget isn't enough for a new Batsuit. So if you haven't ever seen a video of me covering leaks before, what I like to do, for the sake of argument's sake, when discussing the leaks, I like to assume that they're true, just so I can kind of, you know, imagine if it's happening. So the Batman Begins suit, that is interesting. I mean, actually, I really don't mind that, like, because he says apparently the budget isn't enough for a new bat suit. Fair enough. The Batman Begins suit is a pretty badass suit, and there's been so many comments in the past, like, Gotham doesn't like technically copy and paste from one kind of Batman universe, but if anything, there's been comments from the actors, the producers before that it does kind of draw a lot of inspiration from Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. So if, as John Stevens is saying, like, they're leaving nothing on the table, like, they take it off the table and then putting it back on again and taking it off again, the Batman Begins suit, if this actually comes to fruition and Bruce will be wearing it, and I'll get to Bruce wearing it in a second, because we got some information about that kind of stuff, that would be pretty cool. Like, the Batman Begins suit repainted, a little bit of a Nubia look perhaps, instead of obviously just copying it from the Dark Knight. As I said, guys, I don't know as to the legitimacy of this at all, but let's just have a little bit of fun with speculation, as I said. Now, the thing is, you may be saying, hey, Boba, but I thought you didn't want to see necessarily David Mazouz in a full, like, bulky kind of batsuit. I'm not saying that the Dark Knight one is mega bulky, but you know what I mean. That's what I've said before. If anything, I kind of want David Mazouz's one to be a bit Nubia, a little bit Zero Yuri kind of look, unless they're doing a little bit of a time skip. Then you could put where they're CGIing his face or doing something interesting there on the body double, blah, 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 zooming in kind of things. You know what I mean? They can still make David Mazouz look big if they're doing a year or 2 time skip, just to give us that closure on the season to see our characters in the future after seeing them after 5 years, which would be pretty cool, right? But the next leak here is that he says there also may be a time skip epilogue in the final episode. Casting is underway for actors to play older Bruce and older Gordon. Now, this is what I have been saying the whole time. I'm not like trying to blow my own whistle at all. I'm just genuinely saying, if there is any legitimacy to these leaks at all, I really wouldn't be surprised. I think it would be really neat to literally add a kind of epilogue, little bit of a time skip, as we just mentioned like 30 seconds ago, to see our characters in the future, just in their future careers. It would just be cool. But I've had some comments say, like, but isn't this a prequel show? Then yeah, But like, why not when it's ending show a little bit of a time skip, just for coolness sake? But the only thing is, an older Bruce recast, I can see that maybe, like, especially if it's just a little bit of an epilogue scene, like a 30-second epilogue scene at most. But an older Gordon, I think they could age up Ben McKenzie. I don't see why they would have to recast him unless this time skip is going to be quite a big one, you know, like in terms of, I don't know, to, you know, Ben Affleck's age and then like the Commissioner Gordon in the DCEU, that kind of time skip. Maybe they couldn't pull off Ben McKenzie doing that, but this is why I'm a bit iffy on this one. I'm not iffy on the idea that they will do an epilogue time jump kind of thing, so I just think that would be cool, like why not? But as for the second part of that, I'm not sure. Now guys, to sink our teeth into the leaks, this one will make a lot of you happy if there is any legitimacy to this one. Holy shitballs. And he says this, and who the final villain will be. One rumor was that the final villain is a reformed Court of Owls. One, that it's the Joker. Not Jeremiah or Jerome, but the real deal Joker. Now guys, my first reaction to that is like, I'm not necessarily surprised. I'm reacting to the second part first. I've always said, well, and I've stuck by with what John Stevens has said, that in the canon of Gotham's universe, he isn't the Joker. They've literally said that the real guy out there is taking inspiration from the Valeska twins. If the seasons went on forever, we might have even seen a third inspiration come along before the real deal comes out, kind of thing. I've also said to address this and address pissed off fans, just don't mention the canonical inspiration story arc in the last season. Just have Jeremiah do his thing, don't mention it, have him act Jokery, obviously, because the Joker's basing his inspiration off him, so obviously he will be Joker-esque. So that way we could have just assumed in our heads, with what Cameron Monaghan said, the audience decides. Like, if Jeremiah, you know, in our minds, after season 5 ends, in the future, you know, universe of, in our imagination, that he is the Joker, right? But on the other hand, I've said that there is a possibility that Gotham could tease like this 10-second clip, this 5-second clip of a camera panning around the corner of, for example, that clone or something like that, or a silhouette of the clone that we saw at the end of season 2, or maybe if it's not a clone, the real deal. It doesn't matter. Just to kind of tease that real deal guy out there. They would be sticking with the canonical storyline that they've set in place in this universe of the inspiration arc that they've literally put in line since season 2, the very beginning episodes of season 2, when Jerome died, the TV screens were, you know, displaying all the laughs, blah, blah, blah. They've stuck with it that long. They really have. So if they were really that adamant, like to fulfill and stick to their guns on this inspiration storyline, they could show the Joker. But here, the interesting part of this is saying there's a possibility of one of either two villains, one being a reformed Court of Owls and one being the real deal Joker. Not Jerome, not Jeremiah, but the real deal. I don't really see too much legitimacy in this. It's insanely exciting to talk about. That's why I've got vamped up in explaining my opinion here. But I just don't see how they get away with it. I mean, the part of me thinks, okay, it's the last season, they might get a big gun from the higher-ups to do something like that in the last couple of episodes or something like that. That's why I think there was a possibility that they could, at bare minimum, show a little kind of an Easter egg of the Joker or like a guy silhouette scene 10 seconds long. But as a main villain, no, I don't think so. The reformed Court of Owls is believable because you had the freaking Bruce clone being driven off and you know, the Court of Owls, you know, they will have their teeth in different secret areas, and I can imagine that actually happening. I really could. But I also don't know if I necessarily believe this rumor as well about the reformed Court of Owls, because Gotham has got enough to deal with at the minute. Bruce and Gordon do. The different segments of the city that have been taken over by various different criminals like Mr. Freeze, Penguin, Firefly, Scarecrow, so many others. Like a reformed Court of Owls on top of that, even if you're like 6-7 episodes in out of the 10 episodes or 13 episodes, that's still a bit weird to introduce the Court of Owls, or let alone the Joker. I think it would be really cool though if we got like that cool, I don't know, like as Bruce becomes Batman, this is why this leak could have a teeny bit of legitimacy to it. If Bruce is becoming Batman, maybe that third and final real deal of a guy who's been inspired by the Valeska twins could come about as the real Joker, like his creation, and become this kind of mini final villain. But I can't imagine they will let them do that. Like, just no, I don't think so. I'd be blown off my seat if that happens. But it's still mega fun to talk about. How excited are you if any of those could somehow come to fruition, even if it's not as detailed as it is on the leaks page, how would you even feel about a little cameo of that guy who is out there, who is taking inspiration from the Valeska twins, actually with the possibility of appearing on screen? So I want to say thanks to @and774 for sending me screenshots of the TV Guide's Comic-Con special. And as I said at the beginning of the video, let's read over what John Stevens had to tease about Season 5. Selena being shot and paralyzed by Jeremiah will echo Batgirl's condition in The Killing Joke, but Stevens tells us she won't become Oracle. However, he does let slip that a planned love interest for the Jokerish Jeremiah may be the show's long-expected version of Harley Quinn. Now that's, as I kind of said before, I thought they would have gone longer with that storyline if we got a full season order with Selena being paralyzed, but now we're not. I think that's going to be swept under the rug fairly quickly, but I've already talked about the whole long-expected version of Harley Quinn in my previous Gotham video, so be sure to click that card, as I mentioned earlier, at the top of the screen to check that video out. Is Grundy really dead? Rip Butch. He's dead, confirms executive producer, adding that Penguin's murder of his ex-bodyguard fires up Tabitha in a way we've never seen before. Sadly, her cold-hearted thirst for revenge means less Babs and Tab's fun. Tabitha will almost feel like a rogue agent. Next year, she has no time for Barbara. Now that's interesting. I'm kind of looking forward to that because Tabitha's really awesome on the show. I like Babs and Tabs. If anything, I've always said my most favorite thing about Barbara is her combination with Tabitha and the Sirens Bar. But now that Tabitha's going to kind of go out by herself, maybe we'll get to see a bit more of that tigress like burning through her character in terms of like her absolute revenge, want for revenge for Butch. So I'm looking forward to this. What about Nigma and Lee? The twisted couple, last seen under the care of Hugo Strange after stabbing each other, is in for more trouble. Stevens reveals Ed will start season 5 living in the public library, surrounded by books, mumbling to himself, totally naked and converted in tattooed riddles. And Lee, Stevens laughs that the constantly evolving Doc will resurface a changed woman again. Now as for the Riddler stuff, I'm a little bit concerned about it. I'm sure it'll be interesting. As some of you know, the main arc of 0 Year, or like a big arc of it, is obviously the Riddler. He's like the main villain, and that will be kind of mirrored in season 5. But I don't want this kind of Jim Carrey like tattooed all in riddles. Not like going to be question marks, but I think it will be a cool approach, and this will give us the unhinged villain that will in this universe be facing up against Batman one day. I'm sure it'll be a cool evolution to Corey's character, or this version of the Riddler. But please don't make it too wacky. Please, please, please. And as for Lee, God, like, I don't know what we're getting next. I love Marina Baccarin. I've not been a mega fan of tapping with her character on the show at some times. But, you know, I guess if this next evolution is cool, I'll be down for it. But, you know, we've not really been given much of a tease in terms of how she's going to change. So I guess we're going to have to wait and see. What is Gotham like post-bombings? Not good. Inspired by No Man's Land arc in the comics, Stevens says he sees a Mad Max Escape from New York version of Gotham, with isolated neighborhoods co-opted by various villains. Other overlords next season will include infamous DC Comics characters Ventriloquist and Scarface, Lady Shiva and Man-Bat, as teased in the finale. Which is what we've even talked about in this video. Like, this is why I wasn't so sure about a reformed Court of Owls or a main Joker villain, even if that was right at the very end. Gotham's got enough to deal with right now with all of these different sectors being controlled by villains. Who runs the town now? Well, that depends. Barbara has turned the Sirens Club into Rick's from Casablanca, says Stevens. It's the one place where there's good food and great booze, and no men. Penguin claims City Hall, well, he'll run the Stilinski base of operations. It's as if you cross 5th Avenue and you walk into North Korea. The exec producer says, the evil Jeremiah remains in the shadows like a bogeyman. Firefly, Scarecrow, and Mr. Freeze will all have their own hoods too. So that has been covered before. I've already talked about in my previous video about the bogeyman situation with Jeremiah. That's just like, he will be returning, but not in the first few episodes at all, so please don't get your hopes up there. The whole stuff about Penguin's going to be very interesting. I can't wait for that. I just can't wait for the whole, this is what I've been waiting for with Gotham. We finally got the Gotham, you know, with Batman's playground. I always keep saying this is the crazy Gotham, and the characters, like the villains in particular, are going to flourish. And lastly, guys, can Jim and Bruce save the day? Jim is only going to control one small piece of the city. The GCPD is going around and basically retaking every block. Bruce's approach is a little battler, as he infiltrates one villain sector after another. He will adopt different identities and even take over leadership of a gang. So that is actually really interesting. We've learned that Jim, in the wherever time has passed during season 4 to 5, hasn't taken over too much But as for the Bruce stuff, he will be going over to each villain at a time and basically owning them, like taking them out, hopefully. And even one point taking over a gang. So that kind of reminds me of like a Dark Knight kind of vibe there with that kind of gang going on. In the sense of like the Sons of Batman or whatever it is. I can't remember off the top of my head, but maybe, obviously that's not going to be the case, you know, the pure translation, but it's going to be a little cool nod to that. But I would love to know what you guys think of these teasers. This video is getting long enough as it is. These are our first pure glimpses at season 5, so I really hope you guys are loving this information. Other than that, guys, that was a heavy dose of Gotham news. There's not really too much to talk about with any other news. Danny Cannon posted a couple of other shots of on-set stuff for season 5, but it's really not too much to talk about there. These photos are in addition to that table reading photo I displayed at the beginning of the video. But other than that, guys, what did you think of everything I talked about in this video? I'd love to know your thoughts, so let's start a conversation in the comments below. But if you Gothamites made it this far in the video, I'd really appreciate it if you right there hit that like button. It only takes 2 seconds of your time, and it really does help share this video out and make it grow even better on the interwebs of the website that is this YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to this channel for all Gotham related things, amongst other DC TV and comic book nerdy videos. Be sure to click this card at the top of the screen for the Gotham Season 5 playlist. Be sure to check if you haven't missed out on a single video there. Links, as always, are in the description below. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.